everyone, and welcome here to PrepPhase, the Predator Gaming powered podcast presented by me today, because Milosh is doing other things, I suppose. I'm joined here by two wonderful associates, colleagues, comrades, and compatriots, Demo and Des. Double Ds.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Introduce yourself. What's your name? Where'd you come from?
What do you do?
I'm Harry. Demo Dumpster.
Are you a wizard?
No.
It is a podcast, so some people are listening. Can you describe yourself as well?
So I wear glasses.
Yeah.
My hair would be defined by some as born in the flames.
Okay.
I don't usually see it as that, but
That's a very exotic
where
way
we're
of
at.
saying I'm
Very
ginger.
delicate.
Sometimes you might look at me and think, God, what's that sunset doing in the distance? But no, it's just me.
Brilliant.
And then to your left-hand side,
Hello, I'm his sidekick at this point, I feel.
wearing a backwards cap.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes.
Very in.
People don't know
Yes.
that Des was the first person I ever cast it with.
And
Really?
I knew nothing about Siege back then, so all I did was rip
As
the piss
opposed
out of
to-
Demo for... Exactly, right? All I did was rip the piss out of Demo for 5 hours straight. It was great. People loved it. And to this day, I still do.
Well, one of my first experience casting properly was with you.
Yep.
And my first bad experience with a hotel was with Des.
Wow, was that when we didn't have any rooms left?
They didn't have any rooms left.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad experiences in hotels.
Oh, honestly, they're not a good place for me to be.
No. Anyway, I'm Fluke. I'm hosting this today. You might have seen me at the shops, but probably more likely on EUL.
The shops.
Yeah. You might have seen me around. We're here to discuss things going on in the Rainbow Six Siege world, the ecosystem. So let's start with just that. We'll have a quick beat down on some couple of major regions. We won't go too in depth,
Yeah.
but we'll do the big ones. We'll start with some EUL here, which we've been casting. over
Cool,
the
we love
past-
some EUL.
Love a cheeky bit of EUL. Currently, Heroic sitting at the top of the board. How's that going?
Yeah, I think the thing about Heroic that you have to look at is obviously making two massive changes. You know, you remove Gorgon stuff. Like, those are two
That's the
founders, isn't it? Founders
heart of that
yeah,
team, really,
exactly.
it felt
And,
like,
and
yeah.
you're sitting there thinking, God, what have they done? It looks as if they've disastrified, missing out on a major spot. It's everything's just gone from there. Obviously, then picking up two players with really no experience inside of tier one, it was always going to be a risk. But they've done good.
Wow.
Still think they have tougher games to come, which is where I think things are going to be decided for that side.
I mean, the thing about Heroic is they've done exactly the same as they were at this point. 2 wins, 1 win in OT. Last time they were second because Wolves were sitting pretty with 9 points. They're in 5th, Wolves now.
It's a real scramble. You know, at the end of the day, we're also only a third of the way through the stage, and I'd love to say opposition probably plays a big part in that, and somewhat it does. You know, Wolves have played BDS, they've played M&M, for example. Those are top 4, top 5 teams really starting to fight it out there. So no matter which way you want to look at it, it's going to take a few more games before you really start to get the sense. But being honest, I thought Heroic were going to sit in like 7th place this stage, which is quite a drop from where they would have been before. 2 new changes, 2 gunners, sure. But by the same token, 2 changes versus a lot of other teams that have now kind of cemented or got themselves comfortable or are making less changes. I was really nervous they would just get wiped to one side by teams like M&M,
big
Rogue,
risk, big
Wolves,
risk,
so on and
big
so
risk.
forth. So
Well-
all in good time, but we'll see.
And the current top 4, Heroic, BDS, M&M, Rogue, in that order at this point in the previous split was Wolves, Heroic, Rogue, and Na'Vi. So only 2 of those 4 were the ones that actually made it to Berlin. Which I think, well, at this point, G2 previously had no points. They've improved. They have some...
4%, baby.
They have some points.
Yeah. Am I allowed to talk about G2? I've kind of been told that I'm not
but
allowed
we-
to talk
but-
about them
I mean, you
anymore.
can, but
But
they
we
are sat
might
in
edit
8th
it
place.
down.
To be fair, I will give you this. Wolves are on 4 points. There are also 4 other teams on 4 points.
Yeah, oh no, it's exceptionally close.
So 5th down to 9th is all the same
of course.
anyway. It's a couple of rounds here
Only
and there.
one team in the top 4 has 2 full-time wins. Everyone else has 1.
Yep.
And then even Wolves does at the same point as well. It's very much neck and neck. But let's get into that a little bit later. Let's jump around. We've got plenty of regions and only some time. NA, America, TSM, by
Back on
golly.
top.
Yeah.
They're there at the top once again.
Why the accent?
What are you doing?
Hey, we're in America now.
I love that question. Just, what are you doing?
We're in America. Do your American accent. Pretend to be Caliber Jacob.
What do you think this is?
I thought this was NA.
Yeehaw.
TSM, first place, 3 full wins.
Yep.
They were in exactly the same spot at this point last time. Mm-hmm. Is that an or is that how are things going? Because technically, this is a worse performance because they at least got an overtime loss at this point last time. This time was a full fat loss.
I think it's just they've had their turnaround, right? You win it seems to be a curse. You win an event, and it remains to be seen with Rogue, but pretty much every team has dropped off after winning an event. Like we saw FaZe struggle to qualify. They finished in 5th place, for example, from not the major just gone, but the one before, which is weird given they won in Sweden. And looking at TSM now, they've done what a number of other teams have done. They brought in 2 new players. They've got Gasher and Snake, trying to make a difference, right? To really breathe some more life into this team. And I love the kind of core 3 these guys have got. And I think these changes look sensible and interesting. Whether or not it has term long-lasting impacts in terms of them doing well at a major remains to be seen. But it has flipped the script quite a bit in NAL in general, because now OXG, for example, are basically right at the bottom.
That was it. That was the follow-on point. So you've had OXG, who were in the top 4 around this time in the previous split. They made it to the major, have since had roster changes, and have since found themselves now with only a sort of draw towards the bottom. Them and Beast Coast, they have 1 overtime loss each.
Laxin was the glue.
So the thing about the Laxin change, you can understand why they've done it, because I think it's very similar to what BDS were going through. I think BDS and Auction very similar in terms of always making the events, never making an impact. Auction were on the same lines, always were there, always sniffing around in their domestic leagues, always doing well, always qualifying, but whenever it gets into actually winning an event, doesn't work. And I think the side, they can't settle for that, and I think you need to make a change. They've chose Laxin for the change. Is it going to be better? Is it going to be worse? Only time will tell. At the moment, things haven't went to plan. But do you really think that do you think they would have improved? Because I felt as if they hit their skill ceiling.
Do you think it would have improved without making changes? Do you mean?
As in, if they kept the same team as what it was in the last split, do you think if they qualify, into the next major, do you think they'd go and win that major? Because if the answer is no, then the change that they've made is right, because they're not improving. They've hit their skill ceiling.
There's a few teams that have made big changes. Sonic's obviously another one as well, right? But they've made smart changes, it feels. I'm not saying that Oxygen's change was a dumb one, but it felt like we're losing a bit of that energy.
Well, see, SSG took Yeti, didn't they, from Sonic? So that was a justified.
Yeah, but that was their own choice though, to remove Yeti. Like he was gone, and then obviously got picked up by SSG just after. I think for Sonics, I mean, Super spoke about it before in a couple of podcasts as well, where he was saying, look, we're looking to remove me from the game, and his whole view was actually really mature. He was like, look, the game has gone from being really heavily reliant on strategy to now being one about gun skill. I'm good at the strategy, I'm not so good at the gun skill, therefore my place does not currently exist in this meta. It's best for the organisation, the team, if I step down and put someone else in place. And to be fair, Gunnar has lived up to his name. He's been an absolute gunner in NAL. They're looking like they haven't skipped a beat since the old meta in a way, looking really sharp again now. And they probably will make it to a major as they are. Whether or not they can go far is a different question.
Let's jump to our other region.
Yeah.
APAC North, where we find, well, if EU was tight, nothing's tighter than APAC North. 6 teams are on 3 points. Cyclops are the only ones sitting pretty at the top with 2 wins. Then it's Talon, DK, Reject, Fnatic, Sandbox, and Spear, all with 1 win, and Fav.
Go on, Demo. Talk about CAG.
Again, I don't know what it is with these teams that you just think, oh yeah, then we'll talk about them.
Well, it's a podcast.
No, because it's the only team you should talk about.
It's a podcast. We are supposed to talk about the teams as well.
I know, but it's like, you make it as if I can only talk about those teams.
You can.
I can, but I don't want to, be stereotyped into certain teams.
Go on then. Talk about them.
Talk about CAG.
Yeah.
Yeah, just best team, aren't they?
There you go.
Yeah, you think they're going to take off?
I just think the meta has fit them so well. Like you look back at SI21, which I think was the really first time we've seen this team actually do something. I mean, I don't even think they made it. Did they make it out groups at SI21? Or did they come last?
I don't think they did.
Yeah, but even though they didn't even come out of groups, they are actually, they got wins. They caused upsets, which, and we've seen like this, the sewer rats, where they're just, God knows what they were doing at the time.
Yeah.
But now the way they're playing Siege, that's actually the way everyone else is playing Siege right now.
That, but I also feel in a way, strangely, they've worked in reverse where they've actually kind of worked back towards a more structured game.
Well, they can play both styles.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
Look at the play day just gone, play day 2. When we saw them on the attack, we were like, hang on a minute, they're changing things up here. They're on the defense and they're not always roaming every single round.
They smoked Damwon Kia. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't even close.
No, that's exactly it. They played multiple play styles that kept Damwon Kia guessing, and they couldn't figure them out. And I think that's a real sign of growth in CAG, because the one criticism that mainly came against them was, once you've seen CAG's play style and figured it out, although it's still hard to deal with, like you can't, like Team 1 couldn't deal with them back in Mexico with CAG running out every door and window, but you know what to expect, whereas now you don't. They could just sit back on side. Black Ray might not be out by himself on the roam. And that change and that variation is going to keep teams asking questions of, okay, now we know they're a nightmare to deal with when they do what we know what they're going to do. How do we deal with the unknown as well? They're becoming a really complex team, I think, and it could be really exciting for them at the next major.
Who is, then, if CAG are... We're only 2 play days in. We're going to say they're cemented.
I think they're going to be number 1.
Okay, but
I don't
who's
think
number
it's
2?
close.
Who's number 2?
That's hard because there are 6 teams on 3 points right now.
6 teams.
I do think Damwon Kia have enough. I think they have enough.
Well, we've all seen the reports that
Yeah.
Yas is now back in, apparently.
There are reports,
That Yas is back in. PJH, the coach, is back to being coach.
so we'll see if that's something that turns... Because it's tight. It's a very narrow window. APAC North, there's not as many play days as some of the other bigger
No
leagues.
playoffs no more.
No playoffs, no
No.
more. 2 spots, 2 rides, 2 airplanes.
Yeah, and I think as well, they're all best of ones, and anything can... Like, best of ones are not the best way to judge, because a team could get, a bit of RNG, bit of luck on their side, and that could be it.
mean-
Best of threes is where you really start to see the grit.
Yeah.
You've got teams like Reject on the up and up. Talon, they're currently performing well. They sometimes had good starts, and then things get a little bit shaky as things goes on. And Sandbox...
Fnatic, I'm quite
Fnatic.
excited for. What was that?
He's touching his nipples.
Oh,
Fnatic.
can I? No, I'm joking.
It's a podcast. We'll have to describe it to the listeners.
An audio description.
Description. APAC South. One other team, again, 2 wins, Elevate.
Yeah.
They've got 2 under their bag. We had a wonderful chat with Onigiri. If you haven't listened to that, listen to that, because we might reference some of that later on in this. Fury and Gaming Gladiators and one other team.
Wildcard in
Wildcard,
fourth.
that was it. They are all with 1 win,
Yeah,
and it's a shorter league.
It's quite interesting because the team that were formerly known as IG are now tied.
Yep.
And coming into the stage, many thought Knights were like the favourite to perform really well and make it to the major. So far, they're 0-2. It's not the start they were looking for, and there aren't all that many games left because at the minute it's only a 7-team league. You only get 6 games. They've already lost 2. They're a third of the way in and have no points. And they only got 5 rounds overall. That's not a good sign for a team that many considered to be the favourites.
Yeah, I think if you look at that league, Elevate's always going to be there. Just
They are ever
consistent.
present. They're
Just
always top 2.
Always going to be there. And I always think the second spot, it differs.
Yeah.
We had Chiefs, was kind of the
Chiefs,
team that we said was always going to be there.
Direwolves,
Direwolves had that
Wildcard.
stint. Just, honestly, take your pick.
Yeah, but Elevate seem to be the staple, and I think, truthfully, that will always be the team that people get excited about from APAC South for that reason.
All right, well, let's get excited about our final region for this conversation, Latin America, a region that obviously you've got a lot of familiarity with, and, well, it's a little bit topsy-turvy for some people's books. W7M, NIP, both struggling towards the bottom of the board. FaZe, second place in the most recent major, and a consistent force are second to Black Dragon, MIBR, and Team 1 are rounding it up.
Yeah, you say NIP at the bottom, that's not a surprise in my opinion. Honestly.
You've had this. You've had this thought for a while.
Hang on now. You say at the bottom, they're on 5 points. Top is 9.
Near
There's 4 points.
near the bottom.
Yeah.
for a world champion team,
Near the bottom is
you think
fair.
8
But this is- that's the
places
description.
is
No,
still
no,
good?
I'm saying at the-
Or
Last stage, this is like saying NAL, well, that's just sheer near the bottom. It's like, yeah, but they were 1 point from making the major.
if you're not top 4, you're not at the bottom. That's
if
the way
you're first
you
or
always gonna look at. If you're not
Nah,
top
there's
4, nobody
nuance to
cares.
this.
Okay,
There's
okay,
nuance
okay.
to this.
Okay. The description is that you would expect them to maybe being a little bit closer towards the teams that also had a run at a recent major. They are still a very well credited roster, and it's always still the part of the conversation here for people that have strong opinions. It's so early in the play days. We can only judge on what we've seen, and the lights out is as important to a race as anything else. How you start really can define the rest of the run. FaZe Clan, 3 wins, 1 in overtime. Black Dragons, the only team to pull the 3 clean wins, 1 loss.
Yes.
Yeah, Black Dragon's very long-standing organization in that region, has been there since really the beginning. Black Dragons were always the team that their players got taken from them onto the bigger teams. They were kind of like the academy roster in many senses. To Liquid, for example, Black Dragons were hindered by Liquid for a good period as well, just grabbing their players away from them. But I think Black Dragons have always shown that there's always somebody else that they can go and make into a great player, and I think they've shown that.
Okay, that rounds up the conversation, and I'm going to perfectly thread this into the next one based on things that were said in that, which is the angle of coaches and the current sort of rise and run that they have inside the meta. As you said, Super, he took a step back because he believed there was a different thing. Over the recent period, we've had Twister and Fabian inside EUL come back into this ground, and we've had Laxing, as we had with the conversation of Elevate. How do you think they're doing? How do you think they're coming up to speed with this?
Should we start with Fabian?
Let's start there.
After what we've seen last night.
The easiest one to bring down, I guess. Yeah, sure, start there.
There was a bit of a commotion last night with G2, and they were saying that.
What was the commotion, Demo?
It was basically they ended up in Theme Park.
Read the tweet.
And G2 didn't know they were going to Theme Park because Fabian did not ban it. So that's how you sum it up. Fabian just thought, you know what, let's just throw them into it. To be fair, they kind of won. So
they did. They kind of won.
Not big brain?
They did, and this is kind of more showing more about, I think, team form than it does so much about the specific maps that you're going into. Realistically, I don't know if Wolves also were in total chaos and just like we had no idea we were going here. We didn't prep this map either. But to go into a map unprepped and still win 7-5 when you had a really rocky first couple of weeks, I think is a really good sign.
Put on your big brain hats for a second. That is already on. Do you think the idea of obviously Twister coming to EU and Laxing going to APAC is as impactful in the current meta as it would have been about a year and a half ago?
Yes.
Why?
In the sense of I think it's more impactful now, sorry, I suppose I should say.
Yeah.
The reason being that, like I said earlier on, in terms of Super's reflection, it's less about the strategy now, it's less about the prep outside of game, it's more about the decision-making in-game. And in a way, who is better? Now, some coaches will say coaches are definitely more qualified for this, but who is better to tell players and give them advice on how to react than someone who's played the game for 5, potentially 6 years, right? Latsing and Fabian bring that in spades. They've been there in a lot of high moments. They've both won the biggest competition there is to win. They've shown what it takes, that they can make their decision-making live in real time and adapt. If you can bring even 10% of that into a team, it's going to help you be so much better. But even now, like Monagiri was saying about Laxin, it's also helping outside the game in terms of saying, well, let's think about the comp you bring in here. Is it right for the situation? It's, again, that on-the-fly decision-making. That is why it's more impactful now than maybe it was 12 months ago. I think a player coach 12 months ago, probably not as impactful as it is today.
I look at the Laxing thing, and I think it's not more of a case of changing how Elevate played the meta, quote unquote. I think it's more the case of the experience that he brings, and it's the little like basic things like scheduling and stuff like that. Yeah,
right?
That's where I think that Laxing is going to improve on that basis, because I wouldn't say that like. I don't think anyone's trying to play like North America, at the moment. No. I don't think you want like a North American play style. Whereas I look at Twister and I think you want that LATAM play style for a team like Secret, because Secret just. Look at how they were last split. There wasn't really anything you could say that they did well. And immediately you can see the play style shift. You can see the way they're playing Siege. And it is resembling Brazil. Yeah. I've obviously been very fortunate to see a lot of Brazil and see how they play that game. And Secret are showing me that. And it proves, like Twister has coached 3 massive teams in Brazil.
Yep.
So he's going to have that experience, and I think for Secret, they said themselves they're up for trying new things because they know that what do we have to lose?
And what they did before.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they've got to do something. On that perspective, I guess I'll pose the question to you: if you were, and this is going to take a lot of imagination from you, if you were a pro player in Siege,
it does take a lot of imagination.
What current person do you think would be your favourite or your personal best to have behind you for that mental idea?
Player as a coach?
Yeah. If you were to be able to pull anybody, not that you're wishing them retirement, but your fantasy world, you're there, it's the final. Who do you want stood behind
Canadian.
you? Canadian.
I was going to say Canadian as well.
Yeah, because he amps you up. Like, see what he does to teams, right? The teams he touches win things very clearly. They do pretty damn well. Whether it was Charlotte, whether it was SSG, it was SI, it doesn't matter. He amps the team up. And I've had a few chats with him like away from broadcast, and he's just been so focused and so passionate. It's almost like it's a really serious topic for him, and I imagine it is.
Oh, yeah.
But about leadership and keeping teams on side and inspired. He's the guy you want behind you, having your corner. And also imagine over, again, 4 or 5 years of playing, if not a little bit longer, the amount of experience that he's going to have is going to be absolutely unreal, in the same way Latsing is to Elevate right now. What's your reasons, Demo Lard?
Just the experience that he has. I think he's able to not only chill you out, but I think the hype that he can get out of you as well. That's another thing. Get you ready for war.
I did ask him about this because I remember at one of the recent majors, like before, he'd went around, he'd be like, "Whoa, yeah, woo! You're crap! He just screamed that kind of stuff.
It's on a t-shirt.
Gio, why are you on Gio? I have the worst gun in the game.
Whereas now, like, he was really kind of subdued, be like, yep, cool, good round. And I said to him, I even asked him, I was like, why are you more subdued? Is everything okay? And he was like, I kind of realised that amount of energy, for some people, it really gasses them up. Like, look at Rampy back in the day. Still even now, someone. Are you droning? What the fuck? He loved it. But Troy was basically saying, Canadian, he was saying, at the end of the day, if you're super high all the time, for some players, it doesn't get the best out of them. So you don't want anyone too low. You don't want them too high. You want them engaged and focused, but not like losing their crap. Wait until after the game when you've won to get to that level. So even now, 5-6 years on, he's still adapting his leadership style, which is really cool to see.
Well, let's go from old blood to new blood. Let's go into Rookie Watch. Oh, your favourite segment.
His favourite topic.
Rookie Watch.
Someone who watches Rookies, Des.
What's our jingle?
You see new people.
Rookie Watch.
Des sees new people join the league, and he's like, "Who are these people?"
I don't watch NPL, bro. I'm busy.
Rookies. But that's great. That's the experience. It's the experience all of us have had, and you obviously have a great test of this. We've had so much fresh blood come into EUL this split. We've had so many new names across so many different teams. I believe it's the most we've had in one swoop ever without fresh cycle things.
I think in NA now there are more rookies playing than there are experienced players.
It is, and it's showing the age and the state of the game and how lucky we are that we are now reaching an age where we have this new player. People who were 13 when the game released.
Navi's average age is 19.
Yeah. And that's exceptional.
That's insane.
But not all of them have been hit and miss so far. It's tough. You can't always come in and have a Cinderella season.
I think every rookie that's came for EUL has done work.
Well, what's I don't want to make you scale them because I don't want them to be.
I'll scale them.
All right, scale them.
You know me.
Top three rookies of the stage so far.
Top three rookies at the moment.
I know you're number one,
which is
Likifak.
Yep.
Your number two is Leader.
No. I would have maybe said yes on day one, but I think after yesterday, he got boned by Groovy for fun.
Yeah.
Groovy was in his back pocket. He was living
Teb did have a very good middle day as well.
Teb had a terrible first day, though.
A terrible first day.
Which
and
you have to keep that in mind.
Those two are finding the balance. Okay, that's what I mean by rookies haven't had the smoothest run.
I think probably June. I think second.
Okay.
Third is... it's difficult.
I'd honestly put Groovy in the conversation.
I would have said Astro. I think the dynamic and I think the shot calling that you actually probably don't see from Secret. Yeah. Because I know Astro for a long time and the guy reads the game so well. And I think it was something that Secret were missing for a majority of last split. Because you kind of looked at Secret and you thought, it's realistically, you're only going to be seeing Kendrew calling. I don't think you would expect to see anyone else really step up, where I think Astro comes in with a lot of experience IGLing other teams in his past. And straight away he's going to be able to come in. And I think it's a good dynamic that Secret have, because you can have Kendrew shot calling from obviously that support role, and Astro can shot call from the entry role. So they can work in shifts almost and kind of dictate how the game goes.
Astro's taking the night shift.
So congratulations, Likifak. You get the crown.
Yep.
For now. It gets in your head. Who's next up? Give us a name. Give us a name from the streets.
What? Next up. Hashtag next up. From Tier 3 into EUL.
Yeah. You were at the NPL finals. Right?
Realistically, anyone from 10 star. I think you're looking at Oscar from Victus. You have to put a bit of respect in him. Someone who I actually thought was going to be in this season, but didn't make it.
Didn't make it yet.
Didn't make it yet.
That's it.
You never know.
I was actually,
see you soon.
I was talking to Leader as well, and apparently there's a guy in the Spanish nationals.
Okay.
I forget what his name is, but apparently he's dropping like 40 and 8 on opening kills and deaths.
Well, we gotta see that.
That's what I forget his name, but I looked at his stats and apparently he is.
You know me. I always like to wait to see proof before I get too excited.
You're a busy man.
No, just in general. Like, I don't mind watching them. Like, I watched NPL all weekend, but I think it's ever since I've seen some players like around the world. Like APAC North was kind of a great example. Number 2 was on Takumi Festival. The team was called the company. There's the org he was on. And he was dropping he was top rated stat in pretty much everything in the whole league. So much so that Fav then picked him up and he was then pretty mediocre. Had a good first stage, then started to slip, eventually got dropped. So I always like to see players prove they can come into the big leagues where turns out every single player can basically shoot back and show they can still be as special in that top tier league. And thankfully, we do see that. I'd probably wager in 85% of cases all around the world.
Now, we've done a very brief bit about Blur earlier, but I think it's worth highlighting Blur and Always and Dan, the sort of return of those that have been around for a time. How do you think they're sort of hitting the boards? Because Dan had an unbelievable performance in an unfortunate another loss for the roster.
Yeah,
really well.
Still do worry for outsiders. Obviously, the pickups, they've taken a risk because you don't know how two old players, Always and Dan, are going to fit into the new play style. Dan's come out in an interview and said himself that those two boys found it difficult coming back in after not playing for a long time. But I think they've shown that they're working really, really hard on it. Dan's came across very well in interviews in that regard. The performance last night, it was really only Dan. One single carry. That was it. Nobody else really was stepping up to the plate.
Yeah.
It's one of those games. So I think the other four have to sit there and look at themselves and think, no, this isn't good enough. We can't just rely on Dan carrying us out of these wins. And as we know, a single carry isn't always going to be guaranteed the full 3 points as well.
It's the outsider's curse. Just inconsistency is rampant, sadly.
Blur. It's tougher with Blur.
I mean, he did die and split really randomly yesterday with the diffuser when his team had site control and I was asking questions.
I think the difference.
But that's one moment.
The difference with Blur coming into G2 is there's a lot of Always and Dan already on G2. Blur's coming into the other side of that.
I've said it so many times. Everyone loves hating G2. That is just the facts of everything. I blame Fabian for what he done in 2019 in terms of him being a media presence.
I think they love hating G2 because they're seen as,
Well, G2 as an org is just G2.
It's the biggest European org, absolutely,
Yeah.
right? So everyone wants to kind of see the downfall of those that should be at the top. But probably also the reputation they carry is a little bit of ego, thinking they're really good. And then when they don't do good, it's like, ha.
Yeah. I mean, you looked at the Blur switch. Comes in for Prano. Can you say right now that he is doing better than Prano? I would say yes.
I'd say,
Roster changes worked.
Yeah.
Last couple
That's
of
all it
games
was.
has shown what you can
It's
do.
a different taste.
All they wanted is somebody who can shoot better than Prano. And realistically, I think Doki said it last night. He said you could really pick up anyone and we still have this same problem where we just need someone who's going to be better than Prano, and then we're going to have to work and see how this player's going to fit in this role and all that stuff to go with it.
We could unpack G2 forever, honestly. I think we'll stick it
but we don't
I'll be
have
there for hours.
enough time. So let's go to a very quick topic. Grim. Where is he? Why aren't we seeing
In the bin.
In the bin.
In the bin.
They said it on Agiri's quote. I said, why haven't we seen Grim? And he said, well, my teammates said he sucked, so we haven't played him.
It's like Demo said, it's a little bit clunky.
Yeah.
And the thing is, his gadget's only useful in a position where you are actively looking to make someone move, which means you've got to be in range to get the gadget anywhere near them, which means fair chance you're getting swung when they know you're pushing in through a door. Yep. You're there with this over like the shoulder mounted thing.
The bazooka.
Just kind of there like, hi.
What you call
Bang.
it?
The bazooka.
The bazooka.
Never again. Never again.
I love it. The bazooka.
If anyone played it, I would use it on a cast, but nobody does.
Never use it. As long as I don't hear that on a cast, nobody bring that.
Either way, that's the concern. Whereas ops like Chanka that have to do a similar thing,
Jank is terrible.
play pinball.
Terrible.
You can just bounce things all around the room.
And the thing is as well, like even if you were to hit the launcher and hit where you want it to be, it still has like a 2-second detonation process. You just walk away. It's not even like an issue. It's like it's so small.
Yeah.
The radius that those bees projectile into, you don't even have to worry.
Roamers don't sit static anymore. They're just always moving back.
They only last for 10, 15 seconds. It's
if it tags you, it's good.
It's
It's a live tag, and then it tags you for 15 seconds afterwards as well. That's a long time.
But you have to hit it.
That's the other
thing.
problem.
You have to hit it to make it work. And I mean, even just as kit it leaves a lot to be desired. You have a commando, which is okay.
You know what I think? I think they were so scared of how well he'd perform in solo queue. They were just like, let's not go over the top with gadgetry. I wouldn't be surprised if in a future patch he has his secondary gadgets changed.
He needs something else. Honestly, give him nades. Give him nades. There's nades open.
There is nades open.
We lost 4 nades. Add them back in. They're sitting there.
Yeah.
EMP changes.
Good. DeKB's like pick rate, win rate has gone whoop.
Same line.
Yep.
Thatcher's not banned as much.
No.
Thatcher pick rates we're seeing as well still.
Yeah, well, somewhat. I mean, yesterday we saw it open in the 2 games, both me and Tim Cass, and got picked probably a third of the rounds.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because there was the graph that was in the pre-show where it sort of showed that he's had a drop-off, but he's also had more of a chance to play. He's taking into consideration how often he was banned before to how he's just never banned now.
Yeah.
That, I think, is still statistical. That, I think, is still... He's technically getting more play because there's just more of a chance to play him. But I still think we're trying to find the use of those gadgets. I think... People are still trying to find a way to use them sharp inside a game environment. I think so far we've seen more misplays with them technically, but it's a teething period.
Yeah, as long as you know what you're looking for in terms of impact tricking, because obviously the impact difference between the impact grenades and the main Thatcher is smaller radius, so you have to be very precise whenever
Less
you use
time.
them.
That's the key bit.
And 7 seconds, I think, is really...
I think it's 9, isn't it?
7 or 9? It's
Pretty sure it's 9. Pretty sure.
Thatcher's what, 12, 13,
15.
14,
I want to
15?
say he's 15.
One of those.
9 for the mini EMPs.
And you have to be specific. And we've seen a few times where you could have a mute jammer, right, dead center middle of the wall, but then there's a Kite Claw top left.
Yeah.
And moments like that, that's where it stalls out teams.
We've seen a couple of teams do this actually, where, for example, defending Villa Vault, they'll chuck one inside of Games Room, kind of behind the door where you can tuck it and get it through the wall, and that can be low or high. And then inside of Vault itself, on the right-hand side of the wall, they'll put one kind of like opposite it. So you have to use both the EMPs to get it because the radius simply isn't big enough.
And even like hatches, you have to drone out which corner it's in.
I mean,
Because
that was
even that, for example,
We saw
is
that
an issue.
yesterday on Cast, right?
Yeah, and with the M&M game as well,
Yeah.
I sort of throw out of the hatch, doesn't do anything on Moto, so it's like, okay, cool, we gotta, or E-Box even, we gotta change.
And that's where Thatcher's good because it's just easy. You don't have to think with Thatcher.
I said this yesterday. It's like for a few teams, like you say, you haven't got to think. If you're worried there's too many mute mozzies around, for example, if you want to get rid of things like magnets and
Especially in
ADSs,
like a long attack where you have a lot of prep to go for and you want to give yourself
it makes
more
life
time.
easy.
Yeah.
I almost think teams are kind of overestimating how easy it is to attack with the mini EMPs. And a lot of mistakes are being made. So teams have either got to get a lot better and accept, okay, we're going to have to drone things more here. We're going to have to figure things out before we use them and commit more time to that. Or just bring the Thatcher and go, look, we don't care. Toss it in the corner. It's disabled. Away we go. There are things they've got to consider. Good debate demo.
Yeah, no, I'm loving this because I just get to leave you two. And you can just butt
I suppose I always feel whenever we mention Thatcher, you have to then mention Maverick. Because
Yeah,
he's very
he's
similar.
disappeared.
Maverick's gone.
Disappeared.
I knew as soon as you remove those 2 grenades, he's just going to be gone.
You know it's a bad time when I don't even play him on Oregon anymore. Top floor.
No,
attack.
I think that it's very fair. You'll see places, Clubhouse CC push barely has a Maverick now.
Yeah.
If it's sort of played
There's only one time I see a Maverick, and that is literally for a specific attack on a specific bomb site, and that is Oregon Kids Attic. That's the only time you see a Maverick these days.
Whereas it used to be described as there were certain ban patterns, if Maverick was in it, was the toughest attack to put together.
Was it BDS who played it yesterday on Club? I want to say
They did.
They were still using it for cached attacks, both of them. Yeah,
But that was pretty much
that's stylistic, I think.
And then they lost that attack as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's very
So
stylistic. They were good at doing it. It was just a little bit.
He's just losing. We've seen it before. Like Capital fell off losing nades. IQ fell off losing nades.
Yeah.
Oakley fell off losing nades.
Remember Thermite with his nades?
Well, Fermat needed to lose the nades, but he was still always going to be played. But
How dare you?
himself.
How dare you?
so it's a running theme. There's some operators that are good because they do have the nades, and nades, as we know, are
Capital
so strong.
right now, I think. And Buck.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Buck's in a good Buck.
Gun 6, hard breach gadget, guns that are still okay. Just and a great gadget. on both.
Buck's good, but I don't think Capital. I thought he was going to be more picked than what he is.
I think that's what
I think he was going to be a lot better.
Slept on.
I think that's the thing about, for me, Capital, I put currently in the same box that I would put Sens, in that I want to see more of them, because I think from my perspective there could be so much that could be done with them as operators, as pushers. We're getting a little bit more Sens this time around, a little bit more of a taste of what those giant light walls can do, but still I think we're kind of coming out of the wake. Everybody's waking up from the LMG meta.
You make Sens 2-speed, they are playable. Like, more playable. Not saying,
Yeah.
not saying they're dead in the water, but I just
More
think
playable.
More playable.
I think for operators like that, like Sens is literally based around going for like executing rushes. You need to be
Yes.
quick.
Yeah.
So why are they a 1-speed?
Yeah. I agree.
You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it.
I completely agree.
Imagine Ying
Completely
being a 1-speed. What would you do? What's the point?
You haven't got to see, just listen.
There's a reason why we made Blitz a 2-speed, because 1-speed wasn't cutting it.
You only got 3-speed on the TTS.
Yeah, no, it was 4-speed on the TTS.
Oh, it was the extra, was it?
Yeah. That was
There was some scary
I
nightmare
just
fuel
think for
kits
operators
that
designed
spin
for
out of that.
rushes, they need to be quicker. They just need to be.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
No, I very much agree.
Imagine making Oryx a 1-speed. What's the point?
Although teams have been using sense in terms of like back
Out of
top
shape.
floor, roll it in, then holding a window angle rather than trying to push it
Well, you'll
behind
see,
it, right?
I think Chalet is where you see most Sims play, and that's because they've got the drone hole that cuts off onto the bar and billiards room,
Yeah.
and then you've got the drone hole that cuts off onto dining, and then that's about it tactically to just sort of run the mill. There's attempts with Sens. There was an attempted Sens rush twice yesterday in Villa.
Yeah.
Both of them failed.
We had it on bank as well with an Ossa plant
Yeah,
coming behind
bank.
it. That was quite cool.
I know I asked you this as the precursor. I said to think about it. if you were to design an operator
I thought 2 years ago about this, don't
2
worry.
years ago,
I've had this
that
in
was
my
a
head.
very different meta, Derry.
Yes, it was, but I still think it's relevant.
Okay, what's your operator?
Maybe less so now that the nade meta has
I really want
gone, not died.
just to quickly say, I want this clip to be sent to the pros that Derry talks with. For
All right.
you absolutely chastise.
I've actually spoke to a few of them
Okay.
about it as an idea. I'm
Okay.
deeply passionate about this,
Right,
as you can tell.
tell us your
But
passion for it.
I'd love the idea. And again, now the nade meta's kind of gone, it's less a big deal. But the ability to deploy something on the ground that is nade proof for one nade, almost like a metal mat that you put on the floor. If you stood in it, nades obviously can't kill you from below, but it is destroyed when it gets hit by a nade. That would have been okay in the last meta. I think now nades aren't really a thing. It would limit them too much.
Not as much.
But I think being able to protect you from fire from below, whatever, you need explosives to destroy it from below would be quite interesting.
like one super Azami.
Essentially, yeah, the floor below you, yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. And damage doesn't go through it on the first nade, but it does get destroyed.
It'd be, or like a really big Blackbeard shield.
Yeah,
But like you have one
kind
Blackbeard.
of. Kind of, but you can't
It's
shoot
like
it to
800
destroy it.
health.
People will probably say, oh, it's too strong. You haven't got nades on your team, for example. You're screwed. How do you deal with that? And it's like, yeah, well, bring nades, idiot. Hello? Ash, Sophia, anything like that can deal with it. Even a Gone 6, arguably, if you wanted to. What do you think, Demo?
What, your idea?
Yeah. Give me 8 out of 10.
I feel as if that's what the design for Azami was supposed to be.
Well,
Where you're supposed
I
to.
don't think so, because she was a site architect. That's
Yeah,
a bit
yeah,
different.
But as in, like, you can still place Azamis, like, underneath you. But
You
the
can.
only issue is you can still nade through them.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
that's,
well, that's
you know,
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying. It's one beefed up
I
one.
mean, we all sat there and watched the reveal. I think that's what we all thought. Oh, this is going to be great. You can place them on the floor. And
yeah,
then
people
won't
watched,
get naded.
people
But,
watched the
no,
Grim reveal
no.
and thought that would be bad.
Yeah, right.
Remember the response to Tachanka?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't buying any of it, I'll be honest with the
Yeah.
Tachanka. Just
I still think his radius needs to be buffed on the shoe because they're just not big enough.
it's just the fact that you have to pull out the thing and then
I
you
don't hate that because that's where you play Pinball Wizard and try and get a nice angle onto something like you do on Bank. You're pretty safe back there
I know
behind a
what you mean,
shield.
but if you look at Tachanka and Smoke, they're supposed to be designed to be these aerodynamic, stop the plants going down.
Yeah.
Smoke's just so much more safer.
I agree.
And that's the
I do
issue.
agree.
Like, you need to make Tachankas, like, make it like Smoke, where maybe he has like a wrist launcher, like Boba Fett
Oh.
or something like that, and like fires the fire.
Or
from
a-
that.
Star Wars
Yeah.
in Siege.
Well, this, I guess, what's your operator? What are you going to...
I've always been fascinated by get the canine operator in.
Okay, but
The canine operator.
No,
As
you-
in, get an operator with a dog.
but people would feel so bad.
This isn't like old school
I don't want to shoot a dog.
Call of Duty where you're calling the dogs and they run you down. It's not
Yeah.
that kind of game.
Wow.
That'd be ridiculous.
Right, I mean, right. What
Would you be able to
Right.
control the
What?
dog?
Please explain the mechanics
Rainbow
of this
Six
dog.
Siege is tactical shooter based on real life response units, all that. What have we not expended apart
Have
from
you
a
seen
canine?
our last
unit?
few operators?
Yes.
We have a bloody bee launcher.
Well, that's why we have to go back and
We
do
do,
stuff
we
we,
do.
haven't done yet, i.e., the dog,
It could be a
or
robot dog.
get somebody who can place like a ladder in a window, and then you can like
The ladder operator
climb
is-
up the windows.
It's a classic suggestion. Is the ladder operator?
Yeah.
So how does that benefit you versus repelling? What's the idea behind that?
Silent, maybe.
I don't know if you've heard ladders being put up around your house anytime, Demo, but they ain't exactly silent.
I guess you could have up and down on hatch, like a slow oryx for attackers
That's
that
true.
anybody could use. So defenders and attackers could use it.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate that. Yeah, that's actually not a bad shout. Someone's mentioned that before as well, yeah.
Just something that, I mean, if you get one of these, or even just imagine it as a secondary gadget, like for the ladder, for like 2 operators total are allowed the secondary ladder.
like hanging from the ceiling
Just a ladder that can get kicked out. G2 would bring a 5 ladder loadout. The same way they brought 5
10 impacts they had yesterday, right? Yeah.
yesterday. The
Round
fight.
1.
Rainbow Six, if you're listening, ladders.
Ladders.
Start thinking with ladders. All right, well,
Honestly,
At least my idea is
one final
realistic.
idea:
yeah.
hover drone.
It's been talked about. The
So
idea of a
yokais,
drone
but
that
not
can-
stick into
So
the
yeah,
ceiling.
yeah, as in like
single
they can
flying
fly.
drone.
Someone that proposed that as a rework for Blackbeard, I think it was Zemin, right?
How do we go from
Probably.
shield operator to flying drone man?
Because Blackbeard...
Is that a rework?
Because Blackbeard sucks.
Blackbeard, pirate, parrot drone, flies
yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah.
dear, oh dear.
Yar.
On it, to be fair, you buff the one way you buff Blackbeard, make it so he's not. Whenever he has the shield on, you don't have that speed debuff.
Yep.
That honestly, I don't know why it's there. Honestly, that's the biggest.
Why do you
issue.
want to buff Blackbeard?
Please don't.
Well, I
I'd
want to buff
rather rework
Blackbeard
him,
because
yeah.
he just don't do much. I
I'd
think
ra- I'd
honestly,
rather
you make him
rework-
2 speed.
yeah, good.
You're cooking.
I remember what he
Honestly.
was like when he did do much.
It's not fun play, and I had this issue in a lot of other games I've played before. When you're awarding someone for making a mistake by giving them an out, i.e. a shield in front of your face that stops you getting headshot, but you can still headshot other people, it's pointless. It takes away from the skill aspect of Siege, as we all know.
So what if you're playing Doc and you swung and you've been down? Oh, I can pick myself back up. You're telling me that's not the same.
Not realistically,
you're getting
because
rewarded
Let's
for
not
playing
get back
opposite.
to let's not get back to picking people up and picking themselves up. That was already that was already a topic.
That was talked about, wasn't it, for a while with like Rook or something?
Yeah.
Well, that rook change isn't it still? It's still not in yet.
Yeah.
But
it's still
I know it's being talked about, which would be interesting. I don't think it'll be significant, but
No, it'll be interesting.
A one-off.
It'll be
a one-off. We'll see it work. Oh
All right.
my goodness! Look at this.
If you've got opinions for operators, tweet them at us. Put them in the chat. And
I'd love to hear some cool
If you,
ideas.
send us your ideas.
Design workshop.
Never send them to actual people who work at Ubisoft because A, they're not going to listen, because B, they're probably designing their own things. We don't know what they are, but you can tweet them at us. We can talk about them because we're not allowed
Yeah.
anymore. Although I did help one time.
One time.
Yeah, we're getting closer though to wrapping this up. So I'm going to ask
Had to slip that in there, didn't you?
the biggest question. Hi, I worked on an operator for Inverse 6. I have one of the developer badges. Okay,
Did you actually?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, no way. I didn't realize
I
that.
helped design one of them.
I wonder who.
You'll never guess which one. Okay. Who wins the next major?
Ooh.
I don't know what you can ask.
This
that
is the
at
final
moment.
question.
Like,
This is the big final question.
It's so early to know. Everything at this point is purely speculation.
That's why I'm asking.
Elevate.
All right. We did interview Super Onigiri. Please go watch
There's
that.
no way you've said elevate now.
I said.
Please,
Did I
please
not
be honest.
say
Please
it's
be
too
honest.
early to call?
And then you
Purely
said elevate.
speculation.
Yeah,
Please
who
be honest.
Who are you going to say?
Phase.
I can't wait to clip this.
Phase.
Has to be phase.
Okay.
It cannot be phase. Like at the moment, the meta, phase by far the best team that
Cannot
can
be
play in this
phase or
current meta.
it can't not.
No, it has to be phase.
It has to be phase.
Yeah. There's no other team, I think, at the moment in the meta who can play it the way FaZe can. FaZe have always been, for the longest time, a team of 5 players who can do anything and everything.
All right, what's your final? Phase versus
Oh, BDS.
the possibility?
I mean, I just think BDS are back.
I haven't seen enough yet.
It's a dangerous thing to hope for BDS to succeed at a major.
I stopped 18 months ago.
It's a dangerous
Hey.
as a BDS supporter or as
If-
a BDS fan, it's a dangerous
It
thing.
is.
If you believe in the Church of EFAC, there's never a doubt.
Praise be.
Never a doubt.
I believe in the Church of Onigiri. We worship Mark 14, 1.5.
Any?
Isn't this the same man who
Oh, I
was-
forgot to ask him if he likes running a suppressor on it or not.
You can text
I
them.
have to DM him later.
Text them there. Or any NA? Do you think they'll ever show?
I was thinking about the teams that are there, and I'm like, I don't know, because TSM have changed.
TSM have
Obviously,
changed.
Sonics have changed.
Yep.
Darks are currently in third, but I don't know. That league changes so much so
It
fast.
does.
Like last stage, we were talking about Astralis, XSET, OXG even. Where are those 3 teams in the conversation? They're not.
NAG Tours?
No.
you. And on,
I said it yesterday. G2 are great when it comes to the hero plays and clutching out big rounds, the big plays. We've really got to see the strategical team play aspect level up to another tier if they're going to win a major.
I know what you mean by that, but like we've seen teams win invitationals down to people just having clutches the whole day.
I think the game's come a bit too
You know?
far forward now, to be honest, though. I think it's a bit too far
I
forward.
just think the way anything in life, just if you have a bit of momentum, just a run. That's all you need.
momentum's
Good 3 weeks.
Put that on a
Actually,
motivational
good
bit.
3 weeks. You could play terrible for the other 49 weeks, but if you're a good 3 weeks,
Yeah, yeah,
actually
true,
you're a major champion.
right? I've got to cut them off there, unfortunately, because we've been nattering for a long time. Des,
enjoyed this.
yeah, it's been lovely. It's been a wonderful chat. Des, thank you for being here. Any words for the fans?
I'm really disappointed and didn't take the piss out of demo more.
That's okay, because I've got this demo. Any words for your fan?
I'm really happy I didn't get the piss taken out of me today.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. It's been wonderful to have you in our little, how is it, cabinet of curiosity? I don't know what Milos calls this.
The corner.
Toolbox. There's like a mirror window on the side of this. I don't think it's ever been shown.
Cabinet of Curiosities, I think.
It's
he calls
very
it.
cool. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with more of this stuff and probably some shows at some point. I don't know when this is released. I probably should have found out, but that's why I'm not always the host. Bye.